Hello, economics students. This is Mr. G here. Just a little lesson here for you on the understanding of markets and market structures, oligopolies, monopolies, monopolistic competition, and of course, perfect competition. This is being made here as we're getting ready to head into a very unusual time here in American history and BCS history. We've been ordered to close down by the state of Florida governor. We're pretty much following the lead of the public schools, which have been ordered to close down due to the coronavirus pandemic and the hysteria that's following that. Hopefully, we'll be able to get back into the routine here in about 2 weeks or so. But this is something I want you guys to watch and to make sure you do the text activity assignment that goes with this. So you just stay up on that. So that being said, in maybe years that follow this, you'll be able to watch this, and we'll be back into normal, routines, and you'll be watching this more as a refresher or whatnot. So, all right, without further ado, let me talk to you a little bit about this. Some of this we've already started talking about in class. We talked about what essentially a market is, and a market, again, it's a group of sellers and buyers who are willing to exchange goods or services for something of value. And there's many different markets and types of markets, but I've given you an overall market, the market of eat-out restaurants. But even within these restaurants, even within this list of restaurants here, there are certain markets or mini markets. So, of course, you got ice cream, the market for eat-out ice cream, Baskin Robbins, Ben & Jerry's, the market for take-out pizza, Pizza Hut. You got Domino's and Papa John's and Little Caesars. The market for maybe getting a coffee and some donuts or a pastry of some type, Dunkin' Donuts and Starbucks. The market, and I can keep going here. I think you get the idea. So creating a new market, many years ago, Starbucks did a great job trying to make, more of that upscale type coffee house thing. And yeah, I know Dunkin' Donuts has been selling coffee for a long time, but people were going there more than anything for the donut, and then the coffee is just something that goes with it. But Starbucks really created a new market for this, let's say 20, 25 years ago, and it's just blossomed and spread globally now. So, I mean, there's like a Starbucks even in small towns now, and they sell their product at the grocery stores, whether you're buying a bag, ground coffee at Starbucks or K-Cups, right? But companies that seem to excel in one area of value provision in a market, they usually have the following characteristics. So first things first, they usually offer the best services to meet the need. And Best Buy did this for many years. They not only sold electronics, but they also had this geek squad that also could fix it for you too. So they added that extra value. But I mean, Best Buy now is really coming under a lot more competition with Amazon.com. Prices, sometimes it's hard to beat them there on Amazon or even eBay. So Best Buy has definitely closed some stores in the years. There's still some very viable stores in parts of the country, but they're nowhere near they were as far as at power 10, 15 years ago even. Also, the characteristics that they would also offer as far as companies that excel in one area of value provision is offering the best price. And for a little while, Kmart is beginning to fade, but Super Target or Target and Walmart have definitely done a great job offering the best products for the best price, especially Target. Maybe some of their brands are maybe just a little step up from what Walmart provides, but Target realized it had to compete with Walmart and begin selling groceries, which they're doing more and more now, especially if you've been to a Super Target, like the one down across from UTC is a Super Target with a full produce and, section, bakery, everything. So, yeah, that's what it's all about. Unfortunately, Kmart has really not been able to hang with these other two, and they're really losing out and closing a lot of stores. So, but how do markets function? And they usually function by being structured into certain markets. The first one I'm going to talk about is a monopoly. Monopolies are, of course, you're the only competitor. There's one. That's it. one in the market, and they're large barriers of entry. It's not easy to enter a market where there is a monopoly, especially when they flex their muscles and they're entrenched in a certain area. I'll give you a perfect example. A lot of times, utilities like electric companies, water companies, so on, are monopolies. Florida Power and Light. A lot of you might live in an area where Florida Power and Light services. I guess the only thing that can really compete with that is if you installed a solar power panels in your house or something like that. So there really is not many substitutes, almost no substitutes to this product that they offer. Same thing with if you live in an area that has Peace River Electric Cooperative. The same thing. You don't have a choice between them or Florida Power and Light. It's just them. So an oligopoly is another type of market structure where there are just few strong competitors. That could be 3, 4, maybe as much as 6. There's some barriers of getting into that market. You could still do it, but it's not easy. I would tell you the national pizza chains, the ones that have takeout pizza, the big 4, Pizza Hut, Domino's, Little Caesars, and Papa John's, they control about 60% of the market now. They have an oligopoly, essentially. And so, I mean, you look at that pizza sales. Look at that, $38 billion in just the year 2014. That was a few years back. I would tell you another one would be the cell phone carriers. They also have an oligopoly as well. AT&T, T-Mobile, Sprint, Verizon. Yes, I know there's Cricket and Boost and others, but these are the 4 that really have a very strong hold or oligopoly over the cell phone carrier market. I have heard that T-Mobile and Sprint are supposed to do some type of merger here soon. So that will bring it down to just 3 in that oligopoly. But back in 2014, you can even see Verizon and AT&T were pretty close as far as market share, about 34%. So if that's similar today, AT&T and Sprint and T-Mobile merging would get that pretty close to the market share of Verizon and AT&T each. Another market structure that you'll learn about is monopolistic competition. So the numbers of competitors in that market, you basically have one really strong one, and then you have smaller competitors that don't have a very... So that one strong one maybe has as much of, 70, 80% market share, maybe even it could even be as low as 60% market share, and then there's many other small ones. So there's very few barriers to entry to get into the market. You can go up against them and get into that market, but it is definitely not easy. So let me give you an example. Microsoft for operating systems, Windows, pretty much has a large share of the operating system market, though Apple competes as well with its OS X systems and Linux. But if you look at globally, Microsoft still has around an 80-90% share of that market. It's pretty high. Yeah. So does Microsoft have a monopoly? In capitalism, one of the things that's kind of allowed is a lot of freedom and flexibility in competition. But should a government step in when there is a company that seems to be either having too much of a share of the market or using practices that may not necessarily be fair? Well, Bill Gates, I know, kind of a creepy picture of him here, but remember we learned to watch the movie called Pirates of Silicon Valley, but Bill Gates is perhaps America's most successful entrepreneur. He co-founded Microsoft 20 years after he's the richest man in the world, 98. But he got sued by the U.S. government. By the way, the EU did too. The European Union sued Microsoft because they thought that they were using unfair business practices to try to put their competition out of business. So in 1999, here in America, the court did agree with the government, and they founded Microsoft guilty of antitrust monopolistic practices. And it kind of focused on their putting web browsers, like Hewlett-Packard, Dell, and all those other companies began to have to say, you can't just put Internet Explorer on those installed when you buy those computers. You have to have other options as well. Back then, there was Netscape and a couple others. Today, of course, Internet Explorer is a thing of the past. It's kind of funny that that's happened, but yeah. Anyway, the last of the market structures is perfect competition. So unlimited amount of competitors. It's pretty easy to get into the market. Homogeneous products, usually from place to place. They compete with each other. They usually have the same type of things. Supermarkets and convenience stores have perfect competition. There's yeah, it's like really no one per se dominates the market. Maybe in certain regions of the country, but if you look at it nationally or even globally, that's kind of how it works. So Publix going up against Winn-Dixie, Walmart, and Walmart's also in this market too. But in this particular market, they would have perfect competition, whereas in the department store market, it might be a little different. But yeah, Wawa versus Racetrack versus Thornton's. I mean, I could keep going. Usually, that there's considered perfect competition there. So, all right, well, that's about it, guys. Economics students. I may have to make another one of these for you guys, depending on when we have to go back. But at any rate, I hope you guys have a wonderful, restful time off. Relax. It's all good. We're going to get through this and even enjoy your spring break, which happens the following week. Take care and God bless.